welcome along to this information session for the LLMs in Finance certificate and the AI Agents for Finance certificate, particularly the AI Agents for Finance certificate. This is a new one, and I can't wait for Miquel Alonso to explain all about it. It's something that we've been working on for a long time. It's one of the first ones out there, and yeah, it belongs obviously to the AI Finance Institute. It's interesting. I was looking this morning on Twitter. I posed a question on AI agents for finance, and the very first organization that popped up was the AI Finance Institute. If you're not acquainted with the AIFI, as it's generally known, they were the first on board for pretty much all AI education. So they've got the AIFI certificate, the AI Finance Institute certificate. They then went for the LLMs in Finance certificate. And again, they were the first out there, loads of people enrolling onto that program, also as a result of the reputation of the AIFI program, which is delivered by Quants of the Year, by very famous people in this space, authors, academics, market practitioners. We ran an information session a week or two ago on that one. So if anybody wants a recording to that, you're more than welcome, and I'll send you a recording. So my name's Geoff Brown, and this is my email address. Okay, so anybody has any questions after this event, and they want to watch the recording of this event or the recording of the AIFI information session, they're more than welcome to do so. It's a phenomenal organization. I'll let Miquel talk about the AIFI in a second. I myself have been involved in various different programs over the years. The CQF I was involved with, specifically working almost hand in hand with Paul Wilmot for 9 years, traveling with him, trying to get the word round about the CQF before it became this huge thing. I've been responsible for the CFA, the FRM, KIA, the ARPM, all of these programs for the last 20 odd years. And I've joined both WBS training and the AI Finance Institute for the simple reason that they are leaders in their field. And when I say leaders, I mean really the #1 leaders insofar as quant education and AI education is concerned. A little bit about Miquel himself, who I've been working with for a good 2-3 years now. He is a phenomenal human being and a phenomenal lecturer. I know he'll probably have a little smile at that because he's a very humble guy, but he really is. So he started out a good, I would say, 3 decades ago, working as a senior supervisor at KPMG. He very soon became executive director at UBS. He's also taught over the years at Columbia, at NYU, at Imperial. He is an advisory board member at the CFA Society of New York. And his current jobs, multiple jobs, go to show that, demonstrate effectively that he's very, very hardworking. He does not stop working. And these are the hats that he is currently wearing. He's Chief Development Officer at Global AI, advisory board member for the FTP Institute, on the policy committee for ACM Europe Technology, head of artificial intelligence at Captide, and he is the founder at Artificial Intelligence Finance Institute. You know, what more introduction do you need than that? Have a look at the AIFI website to see who is involved on that website, who is involved, sorry, with the AIFI alongside Miquel, and you'll see that these names are the foremost names in this industry. Okay, so here we go, AI agents in finance. I will pass you now on to Miquel, and enjoy this one, Miquel.
So thank you very much, Geoff. Thank you very much, everybody joining. I would say it's one of the, most important moments for our institution for the last almost 8 years. So we founded AIFI in 2018 when AI was kind of a emergent thing, right? You know, actually, right? You know, transformers were very new back then, and so on. But yeah, we founded Artificial Intelligence Finance Institute with the idea of training and researching on AI in finance. I think that we, even ourselves, we have been surprised by some sort of the development of the technology. You know, we using now lots of context that back then didn't even exist. I don't know, MCPs or context engineering, or even obviously large language models were just barely born, right, in the form of BERT, and so on. But and obviously there are other things that characterize finance. Obviously, time series, factor models, portfolio optimization, option pricing, you know, volatility surface modeling. So finance is full of it's really full of different problems that now in July 2025 are still, right, very much open to new solutions, open to new approaches, and so on and so forth, right? So we started with the artificial intelligence in finance bootcamp and offering. So we're offering a bootcamp in NYU Tandon from the 4th to the 9th August. So less than a month, we will be at NYU Tandon, thanks to, you know, Peter Carr and Barry Blecherman and so on, that some sort of agree with us that this is some sort of very important the area of development in quantitative finance and in finance overall, right? Tonight or this afternoon, well, we're going to be talking about this morning for some sort of New York folks. We are talking about a new offering, right? So I would say that some of the most important milestones in the development of artificial intelligence in finance was obviously the emergence of big data in 2016 and the development of many non-parametric algorithms that were being used in machine learning. So we started using back then, I don't know, trees, classification and regression trees, long short-term memory networks, transformers were starting back then, and so on. So time series and supervised learning and variation autoencoders were born in 2014, and so on. So back then it was more machine learning in finance, and it was an emergent thing. I think still, right, it's important for financial engineers, right, to obviously master all these algorithms. But tonight I'm going to be talking about, obviously, one of the most important developments, I would say, generally speaking, also in the history of finance, in the sense that large language models were born, so to speak, again with birth, but more importantly in 2022 with OpenAI, ChatGPT, and so on, and then Claude, and then Gemini, and Mistral, and Grok, and so on. And we started very soon to see the potential of large language models in the development of not only quantitative finance, but the day-to-day finance. For example, I don't know, building alerts for capital markets desks, and I mentioned already a few things like for example, right, the computing volatility surfaces and factor models, and obviously prediction models, optimization models, reinforcement learning, and so on. So now we're at the moment in which we have and the researchers and practitioners are kind of trying to build very powerful machines, right? And these machines are called agents, right? That basically are some sort of computational beings that help execute programs, produce text, decide on things, and so on and so forth, right? So ourselves, Nicole Konigsteen, David, Miquel, and myself, saw quickly the obviously the potential of using these agents for the automation of some sort of lot of tasks. So what we did was we have been working all these months since agents started to be, half of last year, 2024, agents started to emerge as a necessary solution to all these panoply of things that are needed to some sort of optimize things. For example, if you want to do something that we do in Captite, which is retrieval augmented generation over a large corpus of 10Ks, 10Qs, and European filings, and then being able to some sort of explore all this information. So we're at a new era in which agents, right, or artificial intelligence agents will be used to perform in the future, right, in the short-term future, right, many of the tasks that humans were performing, on different eras, and obviously, I think one of the things that one can say about agents is that also, as usual, we have people out there, right, that some sort of I would say somehow falsely claims that a few lines of code you're able to solve you're able to solve our main problems, right? But I would say that the certificate, of course, will demystify for everybody, this idea, and some sort of make you aware that pretty much all problems that you're trying to solve, for example, a trading agent, right, needs really a lot of work, right? You need to understand reinforcement learning. You need to understand time series. You need to understand NLP, core NLP skills, like, for example, sentiment analysis and things like that. So we've developed ourselves during these years, right? So sort of very good sense of how these things need to be combined, and through different companies, we're working with hedge funds, we're working with the largest asset managers in trying to improve and solve some of these problems. So that's why we built this certificate that will start Monday, 8th September. Right, I'll describe a little bit in detail the different sessions. And what we've done is we've been discussing lately on how we can best obviously offer this, and we've extended the duration to 27 hours, right, of the AI agents in finance. We've added a couple of sessions on large language models, right? So the people, financial engineers or financial experts, or that want to take this course, right? Will be able to some sort of have a deep understanding of also what obviously LLMs are, and obviously LLMs are some sort of a huge part of all this. Okay, so the idea is the LLM will equip the participants with the skills to design, orchestrate, and govern autonomous LLM agents for applications in trading, risk management, and financial analysis, right? So I kind of a bit described some of the user cases, right? Some of the user cases, obviously the one which is a crucial one, and all hedge funds as we speak and asset managers are some sort of exploring the idea of using AI agents in order to fully automate systematic hedge funds or systematic management. I will go further than that, in the sense that I think that asset management, even banking, will be in not only in a few years, but in a few months, will become some sort of a task that will be mostly performed by artificial intelligence agents, right? Equipped with lots of the algorithms that you need to learn when you do AI in finance. Again, some of these algorithms we're talking about, like transformers, like LSTMs, long short-term memory networks, and so on, will have to be combined in order to do a great job, right? So agents, one of the things that we want to convey today is that agents need a lot of work. Agents need to get skills on imagine if you want to do trading, agents need skills. Which skills do they need? Time series, factor modeling, portfolio optimization, execution, maybe compliance, and so on and so forth, right? If you want to do risk management, right? So, similarly, you need some sort of well-developed a group of agents, right, that needs to, pay attention to different things that are happening in financial markets, like news, like earning releases, like FOMC meetings, like what's happening in the NYSE, in the Nasdaq, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, financial analysis, right? We think this is going to be one of the areas in which everybody will quickly see the tremendous benefit of using these technologies, because you'll have access to, right, to you building agents, and obviously all the infrastructure needed, depending on what problem you have, like as I said before, like ingesting all the 10Ks, 10Qs, financial filings, and then being able to navigate that in a question of seconds. Right? Then you will be able to ask questions about what happened today. Today, some U.S. banks are issuing their earning releases, right? So it's a very important moment for portfolio managers today. They are dealing with this very important problem of needing to digest all that information in just I would say the faster the faster the better, so to speak. in order to also illustrate some of the things we're doing in AI and finance, so I think we have several interesting publications that are very recent. So in addition to the more than 100 papers that I have in SSRN open to the public, you can go to my SSRN and read. And we have papers about lots of papers about reinforcement learning, some papers about LLMs, papers, for example, we recently wrote about with Harry Mandel from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, FAIR, which is a model that some sort of um, try to set a few rules that help financial institutions to deploy all these complicated models in a robust and secure manner, so to speak. Anyway, so we have also these three books out there, right? Artificial Intelligence and Finance, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So you have here, all we know, not all we know, because when we wrote the book, LLMs weren't that important. So you have to expect from us new books coming, right? So there, in addition to these ones that are, I would say, a must read today to make sure that you are on the top of the algorithms, the math, and the code needed to some sort of do prediction or managing credit or chatbots and so on and so forth, right? So these two, the first one fundamentals and applications, and the second, which is a new some sort of a revisitation of reinforcement learning, volume 2, which was released very recently, right? And we were in London talking about again all these issues that financial engineers and AI engineers should consider when implementing AI technologies in finance. Again, finance it's a very difficult domain, right? Some people that comes from the computer science is sometimes not aware of the obviously intricacies and difficulties on some sort of using this technology, but we are, right? We have I have 30 years experience on building quant models, convincing front offices to implement quant models, and then convincing supervisors, convincing auditors about using a new factor model or using about a new risk model, and so on and so forth. Additionally, we wrote for Wiley Finance a quantitative portfolio optimization book, which tries to encapsulate all the state-of-the-art models, parametric, non-parametric, that I would say characterize portfolio optimization, in 2025, almost 75 years after Markowitz wrote the model portfolio optimization paper, right? We're still discussing, it's still very much an open problem, and so on and so forth. We are additionally, right, writing three new books, right? Some of them will be released soon, and we will be talking about large language models in a lot of detail, right? Large language models in finance with detail and implementation of large language models in finance, and obviously our set of books wouldn't be complete without an AI agents in finance, which we're working as we speak, right? So just to, for example, share, right? So we have been working. This is what I'm showing are some of the materials that we're using for the course, right, in which we're kind of obviously discussing the foundations of AI agents in finance, workflows, AI workflows, and agents. So one might think that the agents is not the only framework. Obviously, agents were not there, so to speak, of let's say, but agents have been there all the time, so to speak, right? But workflows and AI workflows are also things that we're going to see. We're going to see our large language models in finance with the AI agents perspective. So AI agents, I would say, complete a bit the work needed to do to some sort of, again, implement, complicated financial tasks, right? That are, for example, trading. Trading is a very complicated task. It's a hard one. It's a high reward, but it's a high difficulty one. Or building a chatbot, right? Or building a risk model, and so on and so forth, right? So we're building materials, right? For the course, or obviously multi-agent architectures, reinforcement learning, and so on and so forth. So okay. So let me now, excuse me, just discuss the contents of the course, right? So okay, a bit the prerequisites, right? I was talking to Geoff yesterday, and when we talk about the prerequisites on our courses, right? One important thing that needs to be that you need to know is obviously these courses we are our goal is to some sort of train AI engineers, right? Not just a bit of ChatGPT here to write emails, or a little bit of Claude there, right, to write code and so on, which is very important to know, right? But here the ideas here our delegates, right, our students here, need to learn to build agentic models, right, from A to Z, right? So it's a complicated one, right? One might say, what are the prerequisites, right? The prerequisites are, right, working knowledge, Python programming, um, introductory understanding of financial markets and instrument, and a bit of, right, now I would say that knowledge about what's a transformer, while we'll be covering some of these issues in class, right? So being familiarized with what transformers are, what LSTMs are, right? What reinforcement learning is, will be very helpful, right? I think Nuno was trying to ask a question. Again, stop me if something is not right. Okay, just maybe before going through the sessions, right? Or let's go first to the sessions, right? So the things will be okay. Okay, good. So in order to make the AI agents course self-contained, so what we've done is somehow we kind of merge the two offerings, right? The LMMs and the agents one, right? Where this is our current thinking is that this course, right? The AI agents course will have, and we have added, two modules on large language models to make it self-contained, right? So I think if you have to start now, the use of AI in finance, and you already, for example, have experience of what supervised learning is, unsupervised learning is, reinforcement learning is, this is the right thing to learn now, right? Because then again, right, you'll be able to use very sophisticated models, right? After the course. So we'll have several sessions totaling 27 hours, right? So the way it works is that every morning, starting 8 September 2025, we deliver one class, right, in the form of recordings, right? So on the 8th September 2025, you'll have this lecture, Introduction to Large Language Models, 3 hours, okay, covering evolution and key milestones of LLMs, transformer architectures, pre-trained objectives, the first popular models, GPT, BERT, Llama, and we will start obviously seeing in the lab LLMs with via API for text completion tasks and so on. Okay. Additionally, what we do is that every week we offer 1 hour office hours. So you'll have the recordings, but you'll have starting the second week office hours. So you'll be able to interact with us an hour and a half, asking questions about the previous lectures, right? Or asking any question that might arise about agents, about AI in finance, about NLP, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's 2 starting sessions on LMMs. The second is a bit of, everything that makes LMMs kind of go in the direction that, financial engineers need, right? So obviously, what the LMM applications, report generation, chatbot, sentiment, and so on, the prompting techniques, zero shot, few shot, chain of thought, fine-tuning basics, right, and a bit of retrieval augmented generation, right, and LoRa and PEFTs and so on and so forth. So we have worked really hard, these last 2 years, right, so certainly LMMs, need and again have extremely useful user cases. So you before and now we're kind of a little bit more flexible, right? In the sense that agents are within what completes the usefulness, the robustness of AI in finance, generally speaking. LMMs are a very important part of it, right? But agents will be what manage the tools and so on and so forth. So session 3 will start, with right away with AI agents, reactive, derivative, hybrid, traditional versus AI workflows. So this is a question that arises, very often, right? To what extent AI workflows are it's what's needed, or to what extent, you need to go to agents, right? Obviously, whenever we use this word, sometimes things are not right, but we will be very clear, right, during our sessions on what the different. Obviously, needless to say, the course will be very practical. So in every session we'll have lab sessions, right? We'll have in every session notebooks, right, in order that some sort of illustrate and incorporate some of the concepts, right, learned in the session. Now, session 4 will start with multi-agent architectures, right, crew roles, communication, the reflection and voting for decision-making, finance applications, like how you can build an investment committee or how you deal with trading floors. And for example, in the lab, we'll see a 3-agent system that passes SEC filings and issues a memo. Okay, one of the secrets of the use or the robust use of AI, right, is that is that you need agents when you do advanced retrieval augmented generation, right? So LLMs or some sort of more classical computer science will not, right? Yeah, the presentation slides should be on the screen, right? You should be able to see them, Gregory, right? So if you don't, you probably have something. Anyway, so session 5 is interpretability, safety, thought tracing, right? For example, anthropic methods, circuit tracing, logging, sanitization, finance compliance with GDPR, right? In session 6, we'll start with tool using and coding agents. So code loops, coder critic executor, reflection self-refine, sandboxing unit test repair, MCPs, and API integration, and so on. On session 7, we'll see advanced retrieval augmented generation for knowledge integrated agents, right? So let me see. Yeah. Back to DBOps, compliance logging, and again, right? So we will be again working in an application in which we are working with 10Q filings, right? In section 8, we'll discuss, LMMs with RL for production finance agents, right? So one of the things that it's lacking from the current trends of agents that we see, some notebooks that we see out there that are very simplistic, some notebooks, people sharing notebooks that are really far away far away from a robust implementation of agents, right? So these are the things that you will see in the course. I would say that we have again, right, a set of instructors that has not only the CS expertise but also the domain expertise needed to some sort of use these models in real life successfully, and some sort of conveying all the messages for the humans taking the course, right, in order to do that. um, so session 8 is LMM agents with RL layers in production, right? For example, RLHF, RL with AI artist, policy. So there's a lot of approaches and frameworks that will be taught in class. For example, Agent Bench, CIRG, rewards for evaluation. There's the FinRL, where we'll also be touching upon the FinRL framework, which is pretty useful. And the lab will be, how we can deal a four-agent prop desk inequities. So this is a pretty important thing. So at some point, right, financial institutions will be able to operate whole desks pretty much with agents that will be, again, as I said, taking care of um, the evaluation and some monitoring of the order book. If you do high frequency, adapting also a new real pipeline, and so on and so forth. And the idea is the agents need to manage, the risk of the book, the predictions of the book, of the high frequency book, and so on and so forth. And also, they will emit signals when there's 10Ks, 10Qs of financial filings, and so on. So you can now integrate, all your information digesting in a desk, in an equities desk or fixed income desk, right, with the use of agents, right? Now, how can you, so one of the important part of the some sort of agents framework is the evaluation and deploying, right? So there's some benchmarks, agent benches, WB agents, obviously there's risk metrics, right? So think about, if when you're evaluating trading agents, what are you trying to do? You're evaluating what? Probably the Sharpe ratio that they'll be creating, or the alpha, the creation, right? Or the C-bar, conditional barrier risk. You can go through your agentic system through stress tests and so on. Pipelines, right, need also blue-green guardrails and kill switches, right? So this is kind of surprising, but think about, fully automating a task. So you need to kill switches um, when some sort of edge cases, right, are happening. So this is again one thing that we see in the market that is not stressed enough. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's a very good question, right? That maybe I answer right away. Darren is saying, yeah, one of the good things about dealing with agents, right, is that contrary to typical belief, you have more transparency of what's going on. Everything is recorded, right? Everything is recorded on why you bought Apple and why you sold Tesla, right? Everything will be documented, the decision that was taken, the reasons behind the decisions were taken, and so on, right? So you need to build, right, along the AI agents framework, your AI agents framework, right? Obviously the documentation, but think about it. Humans do stuff, and you can only see the output in many occasions of the humans don't have time to document, or they have time to document but they kind of sloppy writing and so on, right? So I'm not saying that you can operate in an environment like financial markets and really and really but and really kind of be able to fully interpret what a bunch of transformers are doing, right? But certainly, at every step of the way, LLMs can say, I decided to do this because of these reasons, right? They speak English, they speak Spanish, they speak French. So you can even, tell them to explain in Portuguese why we're changing things in the portfolio and why and how the signals were computed and so on and so forth, right? So of course, output can be validated. It can be better validated than with humans. I'll explain something that happened to us, right? That happened to us it was in 2018 when I was working with UBS, and we started to rely more and more on communications with clients through e-banking and so on and so forth, right? So when we started doing that, the Swiss regulator told us, right? The Swiss regulator told us um, that the best thing that they could say about digital means, to deal with clients, that they were very happy about everything is documented, everything that agents do, right, will be documented, right? And you'll be able to see, right, why the decisions were taking and so on and so forth, right? So I would say that this is actually one of the right, and I was also want to demystify the fact that humans aren't exactly white boxes. I've been managing, for 5 years, a group of portfolio managers, and portfolio managers aren't, right, obviously. uh, okay, is that clear? Right. I'm not saying more things will be needed, right? But certainly, part of an agentic system being accepted. For example, for my friend Harry Mandel from the Federal Reserve, Bank of New York, they will only accept, the automation of some tasks, right? if they're able to not only be able to interpret but also be able to robustify. So there's a lot of work, as I said, making some sort of the models robust. So you need to think about all the edge cases and so on and so forth. Again, any chances of using an automated system is that you have enough transparency over what the agents are doing, right, and so on. But you should some sort of plant on the different steps, enough explanations and everything. Again, it's recorded and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so how are we going to evaluate, the certificates through, this? Yeah. The good thing here, right, about evaluation is that, not surprisingly, if how it's kind of, we should be following similar evaluation that we do with humans, right? So if you have trading agents, right? So how would you evaluate the trading agents? The same way you evaluate your traders. You have this book, right? You have to create revenues, or you have to create alpha, and you'll be able to compute on real time. You should be able to backtest, obviously, that your system, right, somehow on paper does a good job, right? In addition to that, as I said, part of your job is to think about all the edge cases that might arise, right, and so on, right? Um, so yes, evaluating agents, it's a tough thing, as well as evaluating humans doing finance, right? So you're managing a U.S. equities portfolio. So how you going to evaluate the equities portfolio? Obviously, with the alpha created, information ratio, right, Sharpe ratio, and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, does this answer your question? I think the most important and challenging part, there are two things that are really very important. One is how you the first one is how you train your agents, right? How you make your time series agent a good time series agent. How you make right, a multi-factor agent, right, some sort of a good one, right? Okay, so every agent should go, right? Yeah, it's more tricky, but yeah, I wouldn't say more tricky. So life is very treacherous, right? It wasn't, for the ones who've been working in finance, I'm sure I'm sure you know that even evaluating a portfolio manager is not an easy thing, right? Um, yeah. Some of them, about the trading agents, right? Uh, yeah, we can a lot of we have them here. Right, let me see. Okay, let me. But in the different let me see. Okay, so you can, right. We can probably share some of them, right? We have them here in this different work that we've done. So here we have all the materials created. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we have also more we will have more examples in the books that we're releasing, right? But agents that will combine. So one of the things we've done, right, for example, is create agents that can deal with multimodality, right? For example, sentiment and 10Ks and 10Qs, and at the same time, the time series of the different with another agent, right? And factors with another agent. So this multimodality agentic system is something we've developed for the course, right? And also for some clients. Okay, so back to the evaluation, right? And the evaluation is about, part of it will be, coding exercises, right? To make sure that a final project, right? And a bit of the participation, right? The frameworks will be, will make sure that you learn some of the most important, right? Frameworks like OpenAI Assistance, AutoGen, CrewAI, Llama Index, and LangChain, right? So we have, for example, in LangChain, quite a lot of experience in some sort of the use of agents there, right? Okay, and then the structures have, Nicole is CEO at QuantMate. It's AIFI faculty, and she's also the author of ML and Transformers, right? A recent book um, released by Pact, right? Excuse me, O'Reilly, about the use of transformers, right? Miquel is the CEO of Captite, which is a company that basically does very advanced RAG, right, using agents. And David Pacheco is, for example, the author of some of our books, and in which you can also see some reinforcement learning trading agents in the second volume of AI in Finance book. Okay. And this is the details, but 27 hours, 9 lectures, 9 office hours, right? Okay. More questions? But when we describe the trading, yeah. 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 No, I mean, yeah. I mean, for the portfolio management industry, right? I think that the course, it's I would say it's perfect in the sense that portfolio management it's a set of different things, right? So one is producing trading agents, but trading agents that are not only looking at text, but excuse me, the numbers like factors or time series, but also unstructured data, like for example sentiment or 10Ks, 10Qs, and some sort of deep dive in a deep dive into what's the results of Bank of America for last quarter in detail, and so on and so forth. So agents will allow you, right, or will allow asset management companies to some sort of gain incredible efficiency, right? Because again, you will need humans, very skilled humans doing portfolio management, but certainly acquiring all the information of the 10Ks, 10Qs, looking at the market activity, in terms of returns, prices, volumes, order book. So you'll be able to track all these, right, in absolute depth and okay. So this is okay. So I think that portfolio manager there's really will be before and after AIs, right? Because everything that needs to be done in an equity fund, for example, or in a hedge fund, right? You can some sort of, right, do it with the use of agents, all of them, right? But by the way, everybody, you know, hedge funds started to look at LLMs very seriously, right? From moment zero. Moment zero was kind of, November 2022 when OpenAI released GPT, and everybody started to see that, oh, this is very useful. It generates code, it generates maths, you can investigate some sort of past knowledge, you can create a little bit of new knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And hedge funds were the first ones, right? And the ones who were working back then, let's say a year ago, that LLMs were incredibly useful, but they were not reliable for some tasks, right? So the next step was, right, oh, we need agents, we need to do things, we need to use tools, we need to verify stuff, we need to do a more advanced retrieval augmented generation, and so on. And now we can say that technology is much more robust today, right? If you've done a lot of work than it was a year ago, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah, market regulation, right, is obviously some very important thing, right? We will be talking about GDPR and so on, but you can also, again, right, read some of the papers we've been publishing. The last two are about FAIR, written with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which we have an extremely good relationship with Harry Mandel, right? And we discuss very often, the fact that the Federal Reserve Bank of New York is working so hard in agents and LLMs and so on is because obviously their clients are using the technology, but they are also using the technology. So the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, is using LLMs, is using agents to some sort of get more insights about their clients, the ones that they're supervised, and so on, right? So no model is complete, right, unless you've considered, right, market regulation, right? So I think this is we have a long experience of implementing models in financial institutions, and I tell you, no model is implemented, right, without proper, right, vetting from model validation, but also the regulator, right? So sometimes, from the idea to completion, it goes a year, right? Just as an example, right? So, for example, it took the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is using reinforcement learning. It took them, almost a year to get SEC approval, right, about using reinforcement learning in the NASDAQ, right? And also, there's a paper out there from, I think, Giuseppe Bibeser and the NASDAQ AI team discussing, right, and also, again, making sure that the RL is operating robustly, and so on and so forth, right? And that's what makes us different from maybe other people, right? That is kind of, selling agents training or talking about agents, right? Agents operate, again, in a very complex world in which, U.S. government changes tariffs from one day to another, companies change things, there are wars, and so on and so forth, and agents need to operate in this very difficult environment, right? And it's like, so to speak, an autonomous car, right? So we're building somehow autonomous cars, right? Um, and and are we the first ones building autonomous cars? We weren't, right? For example, James Simons and Renaissance, have a fully automated, right, trading system. And these were agents, so to speak, that were taking trading decisions, that were implemented trading decisions, which all the kill switches, with all the transparency needed, and so on and so forth. Yeah, reporting can also, but I would say that CFOs, if they'll find this interesting, right? If for example they need to build financial reporting, and so on and so forth, right? Or they have investor relations, right? With working applications of AI in building financial reportings and so on, right? It's actually our institution is basically, we're talking to universities all the time and so on and so forth, but this is a private certificate, as well as CQF or ARPM, or all this, or even the CFA, right? So it's an institute and so on. Obviously, they're very prestigious institutions. We're in the market for 80 years already, and we're collaborating with universities like NYU or Columbia and so on and so forth. But the certificate is AIFI who issues the certificate.
I think also, just to add to that, Mustafa, I don't know if you were around at the very beginning of the presentation, but I mentioned that I'd asked a question on X with regards to AI agents in finance. I cannot remember for the life of me what that question was, but the very first organization that came up on the list was the AI Finance Institute. It does have a global brand, the AIFI, and it's partly because of who are the leaders of this organization, this educational institution. So it's been going for a while now. It's got a very good reputation with regards to AI education as well. So I hope that reassures you. You need to look also at the faculty on the AIFI, who they are. They're an amazing, genuinely amazing lecturers who are extremely well known in this industry. Almost all.
Again, universities are sometimes I would say one of the interesting things here, right, is that this is delivered by people who's half academic, half because as Geoff have mentioned, I've been teaching at Ivy League institutions for around 13 years, right, after I got my PhD, right? And the good thing about our offering is that you have people that is implementing these algorithms, right, in production, right? So we're half academic, half practitioners, so to speak, right? And this is much better than some sort of either only practitioners that sell their stuff, or academics that kind of don't really know the different caveats, all these questions that you ask about transparency or evaluation that are absolutely crucial, right? They don't even know because they never got there, right? They've never been in a situation in which you have the Federal Reserve, and you're there and you have to discuss a credit model, or you have to discuss a trading model, and so on and so forth with the SEC, right? And this is tough, right? And this is really tough.
I think let me just.
And this is again with you'll have here the toughness, right? So we've gone through these right before, right? Questions like your trading agents and so on. So we've been involved in trading, at least myself, 30 years, right? In some sort of, and I think this is a new era, right? Again, in which for the first time we'll be able to use multimodality, right, to generate trading signals, right? And we weren't able to do that before, right? Even I would say months ago, and now we can do that. We'll show the multimodal stuff in one of the, but obviously, I'm not. Some of the materials are released in public, some of them are not, right?
No problem. Thanks, Mustafa. And also for those of you who had not registered but are here watching this event, fantastic. That's great. We're delighted that you're here. Here's my email address. If you want to, it's up to you. You can, if you want to send me your email address because we don't have it, so that we can send you a follow-up, which we're doing early next week, which will include this slide deck as well as a recording of the event. And also, the course begins on the 8th of September. So it's not too far away now. There is also a reduced price, 10% reduced. The course fee, by the way, of $2,000 is extraordinary. I don't know how Miquel came up with this, but I think it's an amazing deal, if you like. There's a 10% discount until the 8th of August, which brings it down to $1,800. And it's not only the lectures that you will have access to, but you also have, I think it's 7 seminar events where you can ask questions. I think that's right, Miquel, is it? So there's 7 additional lectures, I believe.
Here we have
7 office hours lectures where you can basically,
right.
Ask whatever questions you like. We have had 6 bookings within the last few days. This is proving to be extremely popular. So before this course gets fully booked, if you are interested in enrolling, or if you've got any other questions, either send me an email, or, sorry, I don't think I pressed enter for that. Apologies. Or you can reach me on WhatsApp if you prefer, because it's a France-based number. So either on WhatsApp or you can call that number directly. And I'll do whatever I can to answer your questions about the certificate.
Okay, so on my side, so again, encouraging you, I think this is somebody was questioning about portfolio management. I think that portfolio management will be doing a very different job in a question of months, right? Because they will probably, right, be kind of dealing, with some agents that work for them, right? They are doing all the stuff that I said. They're doing time series. They're doing all the CEOs or the chief investment officers of different institutions will have a bunch of agents working for them, reading within financial filings, going through balance sheets, right? Going to time series models, going through factor models, and so on, right? And they'll have the top technology, right? If they work hard with AI, right? And in a question of months, I think that whoever is not doing these things will be left behind, right? So I really do have this kind of it's an non we have, I don't think we have examples in history of such a, right, except when you started to have in the screen the prices in real time and so on, and then the news and so on, right? So now it's kind of a similar technology change, right? And the financial industry will be a very different one, at least in a question of months, right? Because agents will start taking over, right, many of these tasks. Then what humans can do, for example, is that you have even smarter portfolio managers managing equities portfolio. They'll have an incredible depth, right, of knowledge of the companies they have in their portfolio, because they have algorithms reading and figuring out things, right? Or if you're doing credit for a bank, right, you have agents constantly monitoring what's going on, constantly refining models, and so on. So it's like something we've never seen, right? Uh, in our trading life, so to speak, or in our portfolio management lives, in our finance life, right? So this give, I think, that the participants will have an edge, right? Compared to the ones that some sort of say, oh, these technologies will really not. I tell you, right, again, and we close here, but everybody in the financial industry is working in agents, from the small hedge fund to the big one, from the small asset manager to the big asset manager, for the small bank to the big bank, right? Everybody, right, is trying to, I had a conversation yesterday with a Santander very, very important manager, and he said, they have in their bonuses the use of AI. Say that the companies are rewarding people for the use of new technologies, right? That's how you know that's how managers in the financial industry are kind of engaging with the technology. They're forcing people, right? And obviously, I think again that these are skills that you're going to need, right? And I think this is the right time, because you'll be among the first adopters, the first experts, right? And this will be, I think, very important for your careers.
Miguel, thanks very much for a wonderful presentation. And I hope that everybody found it useful. I hope you all found it informative and helpful. And as I say, if you've got any questions after this event in the coming hours and days and weeks and so on, feel free to get in touch with us whenever you want. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, and all the best. Take care.
Thank you very much.